The Last of Us episodes 3 and 4 are deviating from the games a little bit, while at the same time keeping source material from the games and expanding upon it. Episode 3 is largely revolving around Bill and Frank, a couple and their story throughout the outbreak. Joel knows Bill from a previous encounter and needs to get a car from him so him and Ellie can travel to Wyoming to try and get to Tommy. The beginning of the episode is Ellie and Joel discussing a little bit about what happened with Tess, and Ellie mainly asking Joel a lot of questions about him and everything that he's been through. The larger part of the episode shows the life Bill and Frank had together, and it's honestly insightful how they dealt with the infected, people, and just a semi-normal life and the intimate relationship the two garnered. It ends with them years later not dying to the infected, but dying at their own hands, as showcased when Joel and Ellie make it to the house. There's not much more to elaborate on. The episode really speaks for itself and was a backstory for one of the characters from the main game. The deviation from the game, however, is that in the game, Ellie and Joel actually meet Bill and they have interactions, and the banter between Ellie and Bill is hilarious, and the attitude of Bill was really a defining character trait. That's kind of gone now. Bill is gone and there's zero interaction, no escaping the infected to get the battery, no banter, just Joel and Ellie finding out they died and getting a car and the battery. The lesson Bill left in the note was that him and Joel are made to protect people. For Joel, it's his job to protect Tess and Ellie, which is going to carry on the bond between Ellie and Joel. The episode ends also with an open window scene from a room, which is a mini Easter egg since that window is actually the main menu screen from The Last of Us game. Overall though, leaving Bill out, that's something I'm not the biggest fan of since he was great in the game. Being able to see the interactions between Joel, Ellie, and Bill was kind of funny and it was nice to progress in the story. Yet at the same time, the show did him a service by giving a little bit of backstory to him. I just wish that he was actually there so we can still see those interactions. Episode 4 continues off from Episode 3 with Joel and Ellie leaving for Wyoming, but instead they take a detour to Kansas City since that's what the show wanted to do as opposed to the games due to filming locations. Ellie and Joel still have the same car interactions they had in the games, where Ellie gives Joel a cassette that reminds him of the past, and Ellie also took an explicit magazine from Bill's place, which is great to see from the games going to the show, along with mostly the same in-game dialogue as well. A nice touch was the song that was playing from the cassette in the car. Could be a nod to Ellie since the song talks about a girl who's alone and without love, which is technically spot on Ellie. They stop every now and then to rest, and Joel's protective nature over Ellie becomes more and more apparent. Joel and Ellie's bond continues to show where Ellie makes silly jokes from her joke book, and Joel eventually caves in and laughs near the end of the episode, which is also a semi-Easter egg since in the DLC for The Last of Us game, as I stated in another video that I made, she reads out of this book to her and Riley. Eventually, as they travel, they meet a guy who looks wounded and asks for help, and again like the games, Joel tells Ellie to brace herself as the two drive right through the guy. They crash and this leads to a gunfight between Joel and 3 of the attackers. Joel makes sure right after they crash that the first thing he counts on is making sure that Ellie is safe, which again shows his priorities with her. He makes sure she stays calm and follows his orders directly and hides while he kills the attackers. Joel gets ambushed by one of them, resulting in Ellie coming out of hiding and shooting him, while Joel looks at Ellie and how mortified she is and tells her to get back while he finishes the job. How this differs from the games is Joel's and even Ellie's reactions. In the games, Ellie isn't as startled as in the show, despite Ellie saying it's not her first time doing that. Joel's reaction is the legit polar opposite of the games. In the show, Joel feels horrible he made her do that since he was caught off guard, yet in the games, he yells at Ellie saying she never should have done that and stayed put, in which Ellie yells back and asks for a little bit of gratitude for legit saving his life. After this scene, we cut to what's known as some form of resistance. They didn't have a name in the game aside from being called hunters and were just there. And now the show is simply adding on to their story and giving them more depth. 2 characters, Kathleen and Perry, are 2 show exclusive characters added to be the leaders of the resistance. I legit thought that Perry was Tommy since it sounded so much like him from the games, and technically I was right. The actor is Jeffrey Pierce, who actually played Tommy in the games.
Hey, Nightly from the future here. Normally for these summaries or reviews, be it the games or shows or anything I do, I try and stick to whatever occurred and not give too many opinions, as you can see from the tone of my voice. But there's like one thing I just couldn't really let go of. Like I said, Perry in the show is played by the original voice actor for Tommy in the games, which is a nice cameo to him, don't get me wrong, but here's my opinion on that. You have the original voice actor for Tommy, who also kind of looks like the character model for Tommy, and has worked with Neil Druckmann before being Tommy. So what was stopping them from casting him as Tommy? I don't know whose idea was what constraints there were, but I feel like Jeffrey would have been thrilled to be Tommy in the live action show, just like the actor for Marlene was when she didn't get the role back in the games, and clearly she's showing she's perfect for it. So I don't know why, but I've been thinking about this for like 3 days, and I don't know, this is just my 2 cents, but now you have like 2 actors that sound like Tommy. Both are great, but again, would have been cool to just give him that. He was perfect for that role because he was meant to play that role, so wouldn't you think that in the live action show he'd be able to illustrate that again? Anyway, just again, my 2 cents. Back to the review. If you've been watching this far, I appreciate it. Please be sure to give a like and subscribe, and let's get back into it.
The end of the episode ends with Joel and Ellie resting in a secure house, only to be woke up by 2 people, and spoilers, they're who the Resistance is looking for, Henry and his little brother, Sam. It's also notable that as per the Hunters, or Resistance in this show, if it stays in line with the games, that Joel and Ellie were actually once a part of it, so to see any similar interaction of all these groups can be really cool to see. So far, the show has deviated a tad from the games, while still making positive notable additions in the forms of adding some story or backstory to characters. Let me know what you all think in the comments below, and if you played the games, what you hope to see, or if you're new to the show, what you're excited for. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.